So once again, I want to introduce to you the Reverend Augusto Chipesse, the General Secretary of the Evangelical Congregational Church of Angola, Evangelical Congregational Church in Angola. And we use the abbreviation YECA for that word, so you'll hear Reverend Chipesse refer to YECA. That's what he's talking about. And I just wanted to give a very brief background before he brings greetings today. It is probably something that will come as a surprise to some of you, unless you read carefully what I've put in the newsletter in the last couple weeks. But Christianity has actually been in Angola for over 500 years now. The Portuguese were the European nation that at first, conquered and colonized the area of Angola, which at that time, of course, was not like one, nation state as we think about it today, but an affiliation of different groups of people that spoke different languages and yet shared some kind of common identity. And the Portuguese arrived in 1480 and began to spread Christianity, mostly or entirely Catholic Christianity. And so by the 1880s, some of the population, at least, some of the original population of Angola was Catholic. In the 1880s, Congregational missionaries from the United States and Canada arrived, and they began to work in areas, especially where the Catholic Church was not as strong, in the rural areas and in the inland away from the Atlantic Ocean on the western coast. And the church began to grow rapidly in these rural areas, and they gave a positive, hopeful Protestant Christian message to the people, and the Congregational church spread. They have always emphasized education very strongly, like Congregationalists and Presbyterians in the United States. They've always emphasized that it's very important for clergy to be well educated in Bible study and theology. And I just was reminded again this morning that Reverend Chipesse took Greek and Hebrew in seminary, just like people, Presbyterians at least, do here in the United States. And in 1956, the church became independent?
United.
Yeah. No, independent from the missionaries. Was it 56?
56. Yeah.
Okay. So in 1956 or thereabout, the Congregational Church of Angola was formed separate from the missionary societies that had given birth to it, and since that time it has been its own independent, self-sustaining denomination. There are now about, I think I put 3,000 in the worship order, but it's more like 2,500 congregations, plus many what they call preaching points around the country, which are smaller groups of people where a pastor just goes to preach, but the kind of regular organization of a church doesn't exist, which is about the same number of churches as the United Church of Christ in the United States. They have over 1 million members, which is about the same as the United Church of Christ in the United States, but they only have 220 pastors serving 2,500 churches. And so, yes, I have met pastors in Angola who serve, once in a while there's a pastor who just serves one congregation, but I've met pastors who serve 16 congregations in Angola. And they travel around to those congregations as frequently as they can to teach and preach for the people and serve the sacraments, but it is often the lay people in those congregations who take primary responsibility. Reverend Chipesse was born in a small town fairly near the western coast of Angola. He was educated at first in public schools and then in church schools, including in the mission station that was really a central focus of the entire denomination in Dondi, sort of in the highlands. If you've ever looked up where Wakakungu is, because we've talked a lot about Wakakungu, it's about 2 hours south of Wakakungu is where Dondi is. And following his studies there, he was educated in seminary in Portugal, and then came back and served churches in the denomination. He first served a Portuguese congregation in Angola, then a Angolan congregation. Then he helped to reestablish the seminary, which had been disrupted by the outbreak of civil war in 1975. And then he was, I don't remember what came next, something, but eventually in 2004 he was elected as the general secretary, the head leader of the church in Angola, and re-elected to that position in 2009. And so in March of next year he will finish his second term, and they are term limited to 2 terms. So he'll be completing his time as the general secretary. And it is a wonderful blessing to have with us Augusto Chipesse, who has really helped make possible all the connections that we have established with Wakakungu and with the church in Yeka over the past few years. So thank you very much for being here, Reverend Chipesse. Welcome. Bring greetings.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you know what? You can take this.
No, it's okay.
All right. Speak loudly.
Thank you. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Augusto Chipesse. My first name is Chipesse, but because of colonialism, Portuguese colonialism, I became Augusto Chipesse. I'm here in the United States at the invitation of the leadership of Illinois Conference. We've been celebrating annual meeting at I don't know the place. O'clock. My church was founded by 3 missionaries from the United States. After a few years, the Canadians also joined them to evangelize that part of the world. This part where I'm from used to be only the central area of Angola. So the mission stations were founded in 3-4 provinces. Province is smaller than a state here, but it is the structure of the country, political structure. We had 8 mission stations up to 1975, and we went through 3 periods. The first period is called the missionary period. The second period is just the war, civil war period. During this first period, the authority of the church laid upon the missionaries up to 40s, when discussion started to see the ways to join the 2 assemblies we had, national or native assemblies and missionary assemblies. Then in 1956, our ancestors came together in one assembly, and they launched the so-called Council of Evangelical Churches in the central area of Angola. Up to 1975, the leadership was in national hands, in native hands. The first general secretary for that council elected was a native. And that was the period of our independence, as Pastor Mike said. In 1974, 75, the missionaries, due to the war, liberation war, and also the withdrawal of the colonialists, the situation was very, very bad for the missionaries. So they withdrew from Angola, came back here. Then the civil war started, just a few months after independence. So we started the second period, which is war period, lasted up to 2002, when we came back to peace. Then we entered the new period, which is called period of peace and reconstruction. This period of reconstruction is really very interesting, and it is in this period where we are enjoying the presence, the frequent presence of our brothers from here. And I think you don't know, my church or members of my church call your church as the founder. And you are our founders. So we have this partnership since 1880, when our church started. And we consider the arrival of the missionaries as the starting of our church. Now, in this period, the third period, which is really peace and reconstruction, is where we are working in a partnership with this Illinois conference. And it is very interesting, and it's a blessing to us, because not easy a denomination to have a relationship, partnership with a conference in the United States. So it is for us a blessing from God. And it is with great joy I participated in that celebration of the annual meeting, and also the start of Jubilee year of the conference. Is it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And also the year of 10th year of our relationship with the conference. I'm here to bring to you, brothers and sisters, greetings from that church. I think Reverend Mike Solberg have already informed about what he saw and what he learned, but still we are eager to have you many times you can in order to reestablish our relationship as churches. And I am grateful to be also invited to go to General Synod at Long Beach. Yeah. It is from that church I brought greetings, warmest greeting to you, brothers and sisters. Good morning. If we look to the Gospel of John, we see chapter 17, Jesus Christ to pray for unity, that they be one as we are. So it is really in this effort to be one with you and you with us, we are here. and you are there. We need to reinforce this relationship, this partnership we have specifically with Illinois Conference, in order this partnership, relationship, conduct us towards that unity Jesus Christ prayed for. We must be one. And when we are one, as St. Paul says in his letter to Philippians 2:2, that we feel same thing. We get one mind and be one, so that together our voice can be of great impact in the world which is divided so far. God bless you, and God keep you in this wonderful partnership we have as Illinois Conference. Thank you.
Ahead of time that I would take a little bit of time to ask Reverend Chipesse 2-3 questions to help him reflect on his experience and how we can benefit from that. And one of the things that, of course, I think we are most interested in, coming from our context, is trying to understand how such a horrible situation as a civil war would affect a church. And so it is counterintuitive to us, it's strange to us, but YECA actually grew quite rapidly during the Civil War between 1975 and 2002. So Reverend Chipesse, could you reflect a little bit on how the church was able to do that, to grow in a situation of war when you would think exactly the opposite would be the case?
Yeah. In reality, we, as I said, we were of the central area of Angola. It was only after the war, the civil war broke out, when our church extended to all over the country. Now, instead of 4 provinces, we are in 18 provinces, the whole country. That was due to many factors. I think one of the factors is the work of God with His church. The second factor would be the displacement of the people, of our members, and where 2 or 3 were, they founded a church. So it is now almost half refugee church, because it originated in the movement of people from one province to another province. So our church now is all over the country because as a benefit of the war.
Yeah. It actually, what you say reminds me of what happened in the early church. If you read the New Testament carefully, you realize that one of the things that happened is that as the very earliest group of Christians received more and more pressure by the authorities in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas, they were forced to go live as refugees, basically, in other places. And that's one of the reasons that the early church spread as well. And it's very similar situation in Angola. Yeah. Another thing is that I think from our context is obviously a significant difference is the incredible joy that the people of the churches have in the midst of a great deal of material, physical need. You've heard me reflect, or at least Second Con people, and maybe some First Press people as well, have heard me reflect on the challenges that they face, the economic challenges they face in a place like Wakakungu and in Angola in general. And yet, the church there is just filled with such joy. It's truly striking and amazing. So why don't you reflect on the joy of the people in their church?
Yeah. For us Africans, the church is a place, a community where we find refuge. As you know, Africans have a traditional religion, which is based on spirits of the dead. So everybody outside the church fear that those spirits of the dead, the ancestors, can come and infect the life of the people. So when they go to church, they find Jesus Christ the Savior, and they feel as protected and joyful. And when we collect our offering, we dance. We have special songs. We move. And we go home with this spirit of joyfulness until next meeting. Because every day is really day of spiritual threat in the mind of Africans. I think this may be the root cause of that joy you witness.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have Second Con people have and hopefully maybe First Press have heard a little bit about it as well. Have heard me mention before their offerings. It is just when you experience the offering part of their worship service is the absolute highlight of the service. The music goes up a notch, and as he said, they dance. I think I played video before of the dance for some of you to see, and it is truly an amazingly joyful time. So it's good to hear you reflect that as well. Yes. Tell me also then finally what you would like to see happen in your church over the next, say, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah,
what are your hopes for the church?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to see our partnership with Illinois Conference to be stronger than it is now. We should really extend this partnership to many areas of cooperation. Secondly, I would like to see Illinois Conference just to talk with other conferences of UCC in order to join the efforts for this partnership with YECA, with the Evangelical Congregational Church in Angola. As I said, you are our founders. We need to have a stronger relationship than we have now. And also, we have to reflect on what kind of future partnership, what kind.
All right. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Let us be one.
It is a blessing to have you here. And I just want to say one more thing. When I was in Angola in the summer of 2011, it was also this same time of year, and Muriel and I were there on Father's Day. And I got to the worship service, and during the worship service, they were speaking in Portuguese, so I didn't know what was going on, but they eventually got around to saying to me, "Happy Father's Day, Mike." And they made a big deal about it, etc., etc. And of course, I had not previously realized it was Father's Day, since Muriel paid absolutely no attention to it. But so I don't want to neglect to say to you, Reverend Chipesse, Happy Father's Day. We honor that part of your life as well. Yes, so blessings to you. Thank you.